health and their fitness over the last 10 years. And more specifically, we're then going to show you 3 really easy to put into place tips that you can start doing now to make sure that you can combat those mistakes that we make. Anything you want to add to that, Chris?
No, mate, just, this is really based on the evidence that we've seen over the years. And we're really referencing the solutions we put in place for our clients too. But the mistakes people make are so repetitive. This is really going to be something that you can resonate with. So first of all, guys, just a quick introduction of us both. My name's Chris. Obviously, you've just met Rob. Now, together, we've been working in the health industry for over 10 years. We started off as personal trainers, and we really formulated a program together, taking the best bits of both of our skill sets to combine them to really produce a program that is super effective. Now, the big reason that we came up with that program was, for the following reasons.
Yeah, so I think it's a great point there, Chris. And what we're going to try and show you over this next 20, 30, 40 minutes of this video is how that we have adapted our own training, our own health and fitness goals once you get over 30, and once things like children, families, careers, and we basically realized with the clients that we work with that, we're no longer in our 20s, and the guys we're working with are no longer in our 20s, or their 20s, should I say. So really, we had to treat it in a complete different way. And the reason for this is, let's face it, let's get the elephant out of the room now. We don't have the same amount of time that we once had when we were in our early 20s, when we could dedicate our whole life to doing whatever we wanted to do. Now we've got families, we've got businesses that need to be run. And let's face it, they are always going to take top priority. So the reason the Total Body Rebuild was built is to show men how they could start to regain control of their health without having to sacrifice their life, their business, and their family. So like I said, Chris has said there, we are ex-personal trainers who have found that once we manage to go online, we can now deliver this program to much more people and therefore help a lot more people along the way.
Yeah, and a big thing also there, Rob, I mean, you touched on it with being over 30 and not being able to exercise in the same way. What we do tend to see is a lot of guys by default just go back to what they used to be able to do, whether it was running 5Ks, 10Ks, or going into a gym and just whacking a few plates on a bar and, really forcing that intensity. What we and Rob found when we got over 30, the amount of little niggles, the posture issues that we started to find, and we didn't have the time to spend the hours that we could in the gym before, or hours dedicated to exercise, whether it was through sport. A lot of us played sports in our early 20s too. So it was really to try and find balance to what we could achieve in our 20s, but we still want those results. We still want that kind of energy. We still want to look that way, but we wanted to contain it into a program which would give us that result without spending all that time doing it. So let's just touch on where you are all now. Now, this is completely the same situation as all of the guys that we work with. And basically what we see on a daily basis is guys who are, putting all their emphasis on their career. This is their top priority. And, the aim of the health and fitness program, or your aim of, and this is one of the mistakes that you make, you think that you have to move this stuff out the way and put health at the top. And that's not the case. But you're pushing, success with your health, with your career, your family. And this need and this drive for success is leaving you with little time. Yeah. So you think the average hour you spend in a week at work or sorting the kids or the wife out, that leaves you with very little time. And, it's natural for you to push yourself and your health to the bottom of the pile. But what we want to show you is not to replace health. Not to replace your career and family with health, but there's a space for it higher up the hierarchy of importance. And we want to really influence today to just stop pushing it to the bottom and waiting for the solution to arrive. Anything you want to add to that, Rob?
No, I think you've summarised that pretty well, really. So just to summarise that, what we're going to show you now is how you can have all of these things on the screen. So how you can maximize your health while still focusing on your career, your family, and ultimately getting the success that you want, but doing it in a way where you're going to be living your life in a very healthy way, and therefore you can enjoy the success that you're creating within your life. So this is where we see a lot of guys, when they come into our program, when they first start becoming clients of ours, and even just when we're just talking to people on a day-to-day basis, they're in the negative health cycle. Now, just to summarize what this is, I'll walk you through the different stages and see whether this resonates and relates to you. So what happens is somebody decides that they're going to lose weight, they're going to get healthy, and the first thing they do is they go to a really unrealistic diet. So they make drastic changes, whether that's cut out big food groups, whether that's doing unsustainable lotions and potions, whatever it is. But the bottom line is, once they start doing this, they do it for a short period of time. Maybe you can relate to this now that you've done a diet for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you get to a position where you feel really deprived, okay? You're lacking enjoyment, you've got business networking events going on, family occasions, whatever it is, you ultimately feel deprived. And then the next thing, you move across this cycle and you go into the position where you start to crave, whether it's food, whether it's social events, and ultimately there you lose motivation. And we all know that when we lose motivation, it's not going to be long until we fall off the wagon and we stop the regime that we're doing. And then what we find is that the guys that have come into our program, the ones we've coached before, they then have always been in this position where they're just waiting for the next piece of energy they can muster, whether that's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks down the line. And then they go, right, I'm going to go again. And they go straight back into deciding to lose weight, deciding to get healthy. And they're continually going around this negative health cycle, almost like a hamster in a wheel, one for a better expression.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's really important to point out here is that guys can be stuck in this cycle for years, if not lifetimes, whether it's changes through diet or whether it's that commitment, that overcommitment to exercise. You know, we hear so many times guys deciding that they think they've got to do sit-ups every morning or go for a run every day. It's drastic, unrealistic attempts. Yeah, what we know works, and you know, it's also probably what you guys want, is something that's sustainable. That's the whole key here. We want to get you out of this black and white mentality of I'm on a diet, I'm on a regime, or I'm off it because I got busy. So we want to get you out of this health cycle and, you know, get you the results that you want. So what is really important to know, time is the biggest problem, if you like, for all of us. Busy at work, busy with families, like we've already said. But what we need to really be clear on is that how you get more time and become more time efficient is by getting better at something. And we don't mean in this stage getting super fit or getting super strong. What we mean is getting super clued up and getting a real high level of knowledge of what to do. Because what we see is guys coming in and they're at this very much of a cognitive phase of skill. So in other words, they've got no or little knowledge, they've read a little bit of Men's Health, they've Googled this, they've Googled that, but yet they're trying to create these life-changing changes with their physique, with their body, or, you know, sometimes it's more important than that, when they're trying to bring down blood pressure or anything, but they've got no knowledge on how to do it. And what we always say is, if we was to walk into your job with no or little knowledge, how efficient would we be at carrying out the simplest of tasks? Like, absolutely not efficient at all. So you've got to understand, and this is the thing with health and fitness, it's very much a thing that people just cast off as they can figure it out on their own. And truth is, people can't. And that's why they're stuck in that negative health cycle for so long. So what we want to do through the knowledge we're going to give you in this webinar now, and also, you know, with the guys on our program, is we upgrade their level of thinking and we upgrade their level of skill. So we take them to this associative phase where we're just giving them more tools and strategies to really understand every single situation on nutrition, on exercise, just dealing with their health on a day-to-day basis. And we push them up this skill hierarchy to get them to this expert level. And just like you are in your jobs, if you can get to this level, your health becomes something you don't have to think about. Because at this stage, when you make the attempt to try and sort it out, it's this very much mechanical process of thinking about what to eat, when to eat it, should I be doing this, should I be doing that? And it's draining. But more importantly, you haven't got the time to think of it like that. So you have to commit to this process of learning what to do so you can become automatic and skilled to that expert level of it. Now, that sounds like it's going to take you a lot of time potentially, but it's like, imagine a library full of textbooks. We're going to feed you the most important points of those textbooks so you can cut out all the faff.
And that's exactly like we did with the guys that you can see on the screen now. So every single one of these guys that came into our program would have been in the same position as the guys we've been speaking about so far. Like Chris just touched on there, not having the skill set to be able to change their body shape. And, you know, to summarize on what Chris has just said, you know, once you develop a skill set and, you know, becoming healthy, learning how to lose weight is a skill. And once you have that forever. Same as like Chris has just summarized with your career. You know, you now are in a position with your careers, your businesses, that you now don't have to think as much as you did at the start because you have that skill and it's automatic. And that's exactly what we want to do with the guys that come into our total body rebuild. So when they walk away, they have that skill forever. And every single one of these guys here is a super busy professional, just like yourselves. And really what we're showing you here is that you can change your body shape. You can get the weight loss that you want without having to sacrifice what you think you might have to sacrifice.
Yeah, and ultimately, this is the main reason me and Rob pulled away from doing personal training as such, because personal training and the model of it is so one-dimensional. You can basically train someone, and then you're trying to fit in the nutrition talk, the motivation, the mindset stuff to keep them on track. And you cannot fit all that information into a 1 hour session a week. And if you do, the exercise gets completely side railed, and you know, you end up doing nothing and just standing there chatting. Whereas what we found is that through the years of working with clients, there's so many issues and so many things that need to be in place to get a result. And you know, we wanted to create something that really gave that answer, if you like. And again, this is what these 3 mistakes are based on. So the first mistake we see is, like we've just touched on with the negative health cycle. Through nutrition, guys are making huge unrealistic commitments, cutting out carbs, cutting out other food groups. You know, skipping breakfast is always a favorite one. Making the decision to go without beer for as long as possible. There's 100 different versions of it, but it's unrealistic and it's this overcommitment, which isn't going to stick, let's be honest. And you've all probably done it. The second one is exercise, and going for this one-size-fits-all approach in terms of I'll go for a run, or we see, you know, guys all the time, I'll go and train my arms in a gym. Because it's the only thing I can really understand what to do. You know, we know that guys have that kind of barrier when they walk into a gym of being really unsure what they're doing, so they go to the safest exercise, which is normally arm curls. You know, this isn't specific to you. You're just randomly choosing exercises or randomly choosing to go on a run because that's what you did when you were 20 and you got results with it. But your body has changed, you have changed, you need to be more specific now. And the third mistake is no one considers behaviors and habits, because these are the undercurrent reason that you can't stick to a plan. And instead of trying to manage them and make them better, you just try and cut them out altogether, which leaves you with, you know, a short-lived attempt. So we have to structure these things and give accountability to them, because as you know, in every other area of your life, you've got structure and accountability. That's what makes you good at it. Whether it's your missus, whether it's your kids, whether it's your work, you have structure, you have accountability. Whereas again, when it comes to health, people just put it behind them and think, I'll sort that out when I'm ready or when I've got time, which will never happen. So ultimately, guys are choosing quantity of these things over quality. It's this 100 mile an hour, black or white attempt of trying to get in shape, trying to get healthy, which just doesn't work. So in reality, you want to try and get something which is consistent and frequent that fits within 15 to 45 minutes of your day. Because for most guys, that's a window they can work in. And in all honesty, if you can't fit something in that's 45 minutes of your day, then there's something wrong with your day, in all honesty. So you want to be able to put these aspects of nutrition, exercise, behaviors, and habits in a structure that fit within 15 to 45 minutes a day. So let's delve a little bit deeper into those 3 mistakes, Rob.
Yeah, great, cool. So, okay, so the first thing is with nutrition is this is what we have noticed that men believe they need to do when they first come onto our program, the Total Body Rebuild, or when we're having conversations with guys, that they believe that they have to spend hours and hours of their week meal prepping. And let's face it, if you're busy, you've got loads of stuff going on in your life as it is, this is only going to be met with friction, okay? They think that they need to starve themselves in order to get the weight loss that they want. So it's that kind of being a hero scenario where if you're starving all day, every day, you're doing really well. They cut out everything that they enjoy to eat. You know, alcohol is a big one, like Chris just touched on. I'm never going to drink again, or I'm going to go for 6-8 weeks without alcohol. I'm going to stop eating carbohydrates, you know, breads, pastas, that type of thing. And they think that they need to know every single calorie of every single food that they eat, almost like to the point where they, you know, they believe that they need to be a nutritionist. And that's one of the biggest things that we see when people have come into our program, you know, almost a nervousness that they thought that this is going to be really, really strict. They were going to have to become really, really skilled at nutrition. And basically, that's not what you need to do. So what really actually works, so if you are in the position that I just spoke about now, so you're meal prepping, you're starving yourself, you're cutting out everything you enjoy, what you really need to focus on and what you really need to do, and this is exactly what happens in the Total Body Rebuild, is we focus, and you need to focus on flexible and effective eating. So that means that you need to have a nutrition strategy that's built for you and your life. Okay, you need to have foods that you enjoy, because every successful diet or nutrition protocol, whatever you choose to call it, needs to be based around foods that you enjoy. And me and Chris always say to the guys that we're coaching that, you know, if you can't see yourself doing what you're doing with your food now for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, then you're in that negative diet cycle. Okay, there's going to become a time where you fall off the wagon. And so the reason this happens is because you're not basing your nutrition around foods that you enjoy. And that's really, really crucial. Also, eating regularly enough. Chris touched on a minute ago how a lot of guys, when they first start, especially with their weight losses, they skip breakfasts, or they, you know, have 2 boiled eggs first thing in the morning, and they go for long periods of the day, really, really feeling hungry. And this doesn't need to be the case. Okay, so eating regularly and making sure that you're not going hungry on a daily basis is actually what's going to work, compared to what you can see on the left-hand side that really does not work. And that comes from a place of experience and know-how, that we see this fail a lot. Yeah,
and you know, just to really touch on the things that men are currently doing. I mean, when you mention nutrition, let's be honest, it's the biggest thing people struggle with. It's by far the thing that causes most confusion, most frustration, and the thing that really derails most people's results. And it is because they're quite simply choosing these over-the-top methods. And if we go back to that skill hierarchy, they're picking out pieces of information and trying to stick them together and making some kind of Frankenstein model of what a nutrition plan should work. What should work like. But you think most guys who are in control of their body, their physique, their health, they don't go around over-analyzing everything and thinking. They've just took the time to up-level their skill. So in reference to, you know, what men are currently doing, it's really a case of choosing something that's realistic. That's the main thing we're trying to get across here. You know, when you mention counting a calorie to most guys, they have a meltdown because they think they've got to walk around Tesco or Sainsbury's with a notepad writing down every single calorie of every single food. It's really not that complicated. It's just doing something that is simple, effective, and consistent, so your nutrition is constantly working for you rather than against you. Now, this is what flexible dieting looks like. And again, it's really to push that this black and white, I'm on a diet, I'm not on a diet, needs to go. If you look at these weight loss graphs, which are from our clients, they're not just one linear line starting from the top and going down to the bottom. There is bumps on the road. Now, these bumps in the road were put in place pretty much by us because we knew their weeks were busy. We knew what was going on with their lifestyle. So we helped them steer without having a panic attack and falling off the wagon. We helped them steer those situations and those events so they could continue to lose weight overall and not get hung up on the fact if they can't have a perfect week. And the biggest way of doing that is getting them to understand the calories that are specific to them and the macronutrients that are specific to them. Now, a mistake a lot of guys make when it comes to calories is just choosing one number and just thinking I need to stick to that. Or if it's food groups, macronutrients, it's cutting out carbs, cutting out fat. It's using the whole thing collectively and looking at weight loss as a process rather than something you're going to achieve in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so Rob, the second mistake people make is exercise.
Yeah, so the second thing that we see a lot of guys doing is the notion around exercise. And here are some of the things that we see people do at the very, very start and have been doing for a continuous amount of years. Okay, so their main focus is that they must burn as many calories as they want, as they can. So they're always doing exercises that are like really high intensity, or going for runs that are like really long in duration, so that by the time they finish, they're like, you know, really sweaty and they're completely out of breath. And again, this is very similar to the the nutrition that we just spoke about. So what they're actually doing is they're choosing quantity. So having that mindset that more is better. And really, again, this is just going to be met with friction at some point, especially if you're a guy who's super busy, you've got a lot on your plate. And they focus on the wrong type of exercises. So Chris touched on this a little bit earlier, that, you know, going into the gym and doing an ab workout because they think it's going to remove fat from their stomach, or, you know, focus on arm workouts, that type of thing. And they're always in this mindset that let's just get as much weight loss as we possibly can over, you know, doing the hardest form of exercise that we possibly can. And again, what happens here is you get burnout, you get tired, you don't get the results that you want to see. It takes over your life. And ultimately, again, similar to the negative health cycle, you end up just going around in that continuous loop. So 1 minute you're on it and you're completely on it, and then the next minute you're completely off it, and you're just doing this throughout the year. Whereas what actually works is really assessing your body to see what type of exercises are going to be beneficial to you, how your body moves, you know, what you're capable of doing, and then finding out what the best movements are for you. And like Chris said earlier in the video, that really all the guys that have success on our program, and even how myself and Chris train now that we're in our mid-30s, very busy with families and businesses, that we focus on workouts that are 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum, but we use exercises that are going to boost our metabolism, burn the most amount of calories, give us our best bang for our buck whenever we're training, which allows us to get a really good workout in, get the calorie burn that you want to get, but then you can crack on with the rest of your day and not have to do hours and hours and hours of monotonous training. And this ultimately puts you in a position where you can focus on changing the shape of your body, getting what we would call body composition, rather than focusing on what we call the poor man's game of weight loss. What we're actually going to be doing here is focusing on changing the composition of your body. And this is a skill, like Chris touched on. It's a science, and this is what you need to focus on more compared to the left-hand column.
Yes, that's really important in terms of most guys tell you their goal is to look athletic. I want that athletic physique. And yet they train the complete opposite way. They'll either try bodybuilding training, which is doing their arms for half an hour, or they'll try and run as much body fat off as possible. So again, you're not going to look athletic if you're just trying to burn body fat on long distance runs. So the whole point of exercise is to make it so you're changing the composition of your body. Yeah, weight loss is easy. You've done it before. You've dropped 7 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, and you've put it all back on. Now the key is, because you've never built the right amount of muscle tissue to maintain your metabolism and speed it up, so you don't have these huge fluctuations in weight. So changing body composition is the #1 factor that you should focus on when exercise. Really try and rid yourself of this high calorie burn. You know, I'm burning 500 calories a day, I'm losing weight. It's a short man's game. It doesn't work long term. So if we go a little bit deeper into this, when we talk about movement assessments like Rob's mentioned there, what we see is guys being sat down for 12 hours a day, out of exercise for 12 years, 12 months, 12 weeks or whatever, and then going in head first into the most, you know, exciting exercise choice they can find, whether it's running, whether it's trying to lift weights. Whereas imagine you've got a car that doesn't move, that doesn't function properly, and you're trying to get it to drive 100 miles an hour. It's likely something's going to break, or it's going to be very hard work. So if we can assess your body and put it in complete alignment, then that's going to make exercise easier for you, because your body, as the machine that it is moving more efficiently. Everything moves in sync, and therefore you can get better results in less time. So the assessment of your body and how it moves is essential to choosing an effective plan.
Yeah, great. And then, so really just to summarize that point now, this is the difference between weight loss and body composition. So you can see Mo Farah on the left-hand side and Cristiano Ronaldo on the right-hand side. Now, this is a classic example of somebody that was going to be doing the long duration runs, cutting calories drastically, doing all the things we just spoke about. You're basically going to get decrease in muscle tissue. You're going to be weak. You're going to be focusing predominantly on weight loss, doing, like I say, the long durations of cardio. And really, you're not going to feel very good. Okay. And ultimately, that's not healthy, right? And one of the big things that I know we speak about weight loss, but one of the main principles of our business and the Total Body Rebuild plan is getting guys who are busy, time limited, getting them the results they want, but ultimately making sure that they feel strong, fit, and healthy. Okay. And then that's exactly the same as on the right hand side where you see Cristiano Ronaldo. So less volume, okay, less time. You're going to have an increase in muscle tissue. So you're going to be stronger. The shape of your body is going to change. You're going to feel fitter, healthier, happier. And ultimately what you're focusing on here is driving down fat as opposed to driving down weight. So you get fat loss comes down and your body mass tissue comes up.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest mistake guys make when it comes to exercise. You know, they're trying to outrun their problem or trying to put volume in place so they can burn this huge amount of calories. Whereas Mo Farah has the time and the hours to put in to burning calories. Most of us, most of you, have short windows of time. So, you know, if Ronaldo trained as long as Mo Farah in one sitting, he definitely wouldn't look like that. And also, he probably wouldn't be able to make the Saturday game. Yeah. So it's really a case of choosing quality over quantity, building muscle, reducing body fat, not just focusing on weight loss. So mistake number 3, structure and monitoring. So by this, we mean that most guys don't really have a plan. They don't really put a structure in place, and they certainly don't monitor it. They just keep doing the one thing they know, whether that's running, whether that's sit-ups before work, whether that's going to the gym to train their arms. So also, just to refer back to the last slide, you don't need a gym to build better body composition. Yeah, there's 101 exercises you can do at home to help that process. But in terms of what makes that happen is the structure and the monitoring of those exercises, because you need to be able to show progression. Whereas what we see is guys doing that one thing over and over again, and they think that frequency wins. If I do it every day, I do 200 sit-ups every day, I go for a run every day, that will get me to where I want to be. Maybe it will, but you haven't got the time to commit to that, and that's why you always end up falling off the wagon, because it leaves you stuck in this rigid plan. Yeah, and if you're not doing it, it means you're not in the zone, and the whole thing collapses. So this is basically relying on your desire to be motivated, which means you're relying on willpower, and that always runs out. Willpower will always run out. So what you need to do is have a structure in place that you can monitor progression, you can see realistic goals be achieved, and it always fits into this 15 to 45 minute window. Now, of course, if guys have got more time, they can do more. But we really need to overcome this mindset barrier of I haven't got the time, because everybody's got 15 to 45 minutes. It's just what quality can you implement in that time frame. So what really works is when you focus on that longer game and that consistency over frequency. Doing something every day for 3 weeks isn't as effective as doing something every other day for 6 weeks. So we really have to change the way we think about it. But the main thing is you've got a structure and a way of monitoring your results in place every single time. And ultimately, what we're trying to do here is touching on the behaviors and the habits that we spoke about earlier, is using this structure and monitoring to anchor down new ways of doing things. Because ultimately, something has to change if you want to change your level of health. And it will all start in those little habits you've picked up over the years of being sedentary, working in an office, and being busy. Rob, anything you want to add to that one?
No, I think you've pretty much nailed that down, really. Everything that I would say is covered in that.
Cool. So this is what we see structure and monitoring to look like. So there has to be a structure, like we just said. To get that structure, you probably need some guidance, because, you know, otherwise you've got to create something. And if you've got a very low skill level, which we said at the start, it might not be the best structure. You need some accountability. We spoke about the importance of that. It's in place in every other aspect of your life. So why, with health, do we go on this one-man marching band and try and figure it all out on our own, Googling, reading books, and trying to implement everything that we read, which just means you end up on that negative health cycle? You need to set those realistic goals. So that's weekly nutrition, that's weekly exercise, you know, reassessing it, planning it, having structures in place. What's realistic this week? You know, Monday to Friday, this is happening. So I need to fit my structure of exercise and my health plan around that. And the biggest thing at the bottom there is you need to assess things. So assessing your fitness, assessing your resting heart rate, assessing your weight, your body fat, because then you've got data you can measure and compare against. So Rob, do you want to just talk them through these two images on the screen?
Yeah, so really, like Chris said there, with the structure, the guidance, you know, the accountability is really key in all aspects of life. And so, you know, what we can see from our side is we can monitor all numbers of different things, whether it's body weight, you know, caloric intake, progress photos, body fat percentage, looking into things like rest and recovery, which is sleep, and monitoring these health markers. You know, again, we spoke about being healthy and driving, you know, the most healthiest version of you possible. You know, getting your resting heart rate down and your blood pressure at a nice healthy level. And so this is a calendar that we would see for if we were coaching a guy on our total body rebuild. So you can see that we're basically here not leaving any stone left unturned, and we're monitoring this on a daily basis, very much similar to how you would monitor your career or your business, literally auditing everything so we can make sure that we're really driving home that result, which is ultimately the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, just to review, I mean, you've got those three mistakes there now. The mistakes that you're making with your nutrition, the mistakes that you're making with the exercise, the mistakes that, or something you probably don't even think about, is the structure and the monitoring. But let's be really clear. You guys are high performers in what you do. Yeah, you're trying to push to the highest level, just like Ronaldo would be in his sport, yeah, in football. So as a high performer, you can't expect to be able to juggle in all the plates at one time. Yeah. So if you do feel like you're constantly stuck in this negative health cycle, then you seek advice, seek guidance, seek help with this structure and monitoring. Rob, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. We're just, excited to hear from many of you guys. Jump on a call and discuss things in more detail about how we can help you regain control of your health, like we do with the guys that come through our Total Body Rebuild.
Absolutely. So these are some of the guys we've worked with. Again, businessmen, high up in their careers, accountants, sales managers, lawyers. These guys had no time. That was the first thing they told us. We have no time. That's why I'm not doing anything at this stage in my life. Whereas with a structure, with accountability, with the quality over quantity, when it came to exercise and nutrition, they were able to U-turn their health and pull back their physique. Yeah, the physique they had in their 20s. They're able to get closer to that and build that body confidence and that energy that they had previously. So guys, we would love to hear from you if you'd like a chat with us about how we can help you when it comes to these mistakes. And we'll be in touch to let you know how we can set up that call.